He called to say he was divorcing her and had already sold their home. What didn't he know? She owned it. Now, with betrayal behind her and power in her hands, Amelia sets out not just to survive, but to dismantle the man who underestimated her. A story of love lost, strength reclaimed, and a final silence that speaks louder than revenge. The conference room buzzed with chatter as Amelia Parker glanced at her phone. Its screen lit up with an incoming call from Tyler, her husband of 6 years. She stepped into the hallway, expecting the usual check-in. How's the trip? When are you flying home? Instead, his voice came through cold and smug. I'm divorcing you, he said, tone almost triumphant. I already sold the apartment. You'll need to figure out where you're going to live. Enjoy. For a moment, Amelia couldn't breathe. The audacity, the complete lack of remorse. It was almost laughable. Her hand tightened around the phone as his words sunk in. You sold the apartment? She asked, keeping her voice steady. Yeah. He replied with a dry laugh. Nicole and I need the money to set up our life together. She deserves better than a tiny place like that anyway. Nicole. The name stung, though Amelia had suspected for months. Tyler's late nights, his sudden work trips, and the mounting emotional distance all pointed to someone else. But to hear him say her name so casually as if Amelia were the intruder in their relationship lit a fire in her chest. Sounds good, she replied evenly. No way was she giving him the satisfaction of hearing her break. Up until that call, Amelia thought she'd married a man she could trust. They had worked hard to buy their apartment a cozy two-bedroom in the heart of the city. It wasn't just a home. It was a symbol of what they'd built together, or so she believed. Looking back, there had been signs. Tyler's dismissiveness about finances, the way he brushed off her concerns with a charming smile and a quick kiss. She had assumed he was confident because he knew what he was doing. Now, she realized it was because he knew he could manipulate her. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Client meetings, smiles, nods. Inside, her mind raced. Tyler thought he'd won, that he could sell the apartment she loved, walk away with the money, and start a new life with his mistress. But he didn't know one crucial thing. The apartment deed had been in Amelia's name alone for months. They had refinanced earlier in the year. Tyler hadn't read the paperwork, too busy, too confident, and signed the ownership transfer without realizing it. Amelia had made the change for financial reasons, but now it was her shield. Back in her hotel room, her initial shock turned into resolve. She wouldn't cry, wouldn't beg. Tyler wanted a fight. Fine, this was a fight she was going to win. Her first call was to Chloe Benton, her lawyer and longtime friend. He sold the apartment, Amelia said, her voice calm despite her racing pulse. Chloe's laugh was dry and disbelieving. Does he even realize he can do that without your consent? Not. He thinks he already spent the money with Nicole. Well, he's in for a rude awakening. The sale is invalid. You have sole ownership. If he took any money from the buyer, he's on the hook for fraud. The word fraud sent a jolt of satisfaction through Amelia. What do we need to do? First, notify the buyer. Then we'll send Tyler a formal letter outlining the consequences. If he tries anything else, we go to court. Amelia ended the call with a strange sense of calm. Tyler thought he'd left her powerless. In reality, he'd just signed his humiliation. The next few days were quiet and methodical. Amelia compartmentalized her pain and focused on action. Chloe worked swiftly. The buyer, upon hearing the truth, was stunned and angry but cooperative. Tyler's fraud was now exposed. When Amelia landed back home, her first call was to Chloe. We're set, Chloe said. The buyer's backing off and furious with Tyler. The formal notice was sent this morning. Any response? Not yet. But if I had to guess, he's going to be furious. Amelia stepped into her apartment that evening. The silence was deafening. Tyler's things were still their jackets over chairs, shoes by the door. But it no longer felt like his space. The energy had shifted. That night, he stormed in. What the hell is this? He barked, waving Chloe's letter. Amelia folded her arms. You can't sell what you don't own. The deed is in my name. What are you talking about? She pulled the deed from her file. After we refinanced, I had the title transferred. You signed the papers without reading them like you always do. He stared at her, disbelief twisting into rage. You think this changes anything? I already made a deal. You're going to look like a fool. The sale is void, Tyler. The buyer knows. They're ready to press charges if you don't return the money. If you spent a single cent, you're in deeper trouble. He started pacing, frustration mounting. You can't just kick me out. I can, but I'm giving you time. You can stay for now, but this is my home. Days passed. Tyler's anger turned into desperation. Voicemails first furious, then pleading. Chloe locked every legal angle. Amelia, meanwhile, transformed the apartment. Her best friend Lauren came by. How's he taking it? Lauren asked, boxing up Tyler's eyes. Like he always does, like he's the victim. Lauren rolled her eyes. He's not. And he doesn't deserve a single inch of your space. Then came the final act. Tyler brought Nicole to the apartment. Amelia was at the dining table when they walked in. Nicole smiled smugly. So this is where we're staying. Amelia stood. No, this is where Tyler was staying. You won't be staying here at all. Nicole blinked. Excuse me? Amelia stepped closer. This is my home, not yours, not his, not a hotel for cheaters. Tyler's jaw clenched. You can't do this. I already have. The deed is mine. The sale is void. And you committed fraud. Nicole turned pale. Fraud, yes. He tried to sell a property he didn't own. And if he doesn't leave, I'll press charges. Nicole turned to Tyler, shocked. You told me you had this handled, that you sold it, that we had the money. He stammered. Nicole, please no. Amelia cut in. Let me explain. He tried to destroy my life, but all he did was in his own. Nicole stared at Tyler, then stormed out. Looks like you're on your own, Amelia said, handing him divorce papers. You have until the end of the day to get out. Tyler collapsed onto the couch. Please, Amelia, no. You made your choices. Now live with them. He left, and for the first time in years, Amelia locked the door and breathed. Amelia stood alone in the center of the apartment, the hum of silence wrapping around her like a protective cocoon. The echo of the slammed door where Tyler had last stood still vibrated in her bones. She had faced him, drawn the line, and survived the confrontation. But now came the hard part, the aftermath. She poured herself a glass of wine and sat on the couch, staring at the folded divorce papers Tyler had left behind. She doubted he would sign them without a fight. He was too proud, too entitled. But the image of him slumping onto the couch, defeated and pale, gave her hope. He knew this time he had gone too far. The next morning, Amelia met Chloe at a downtown cafe. Her lawyer arrived with a tablet in hand and a spark in her eyes. He hasn't touched the account, Chloe said as she sipped her espresso. The buyer's funds were returned. No fraud charges for now, but if he tries anything else, we're ready. What about the divorce? He'll drag his feet, but we've got the leverage. He knows he has nothing to gain by delaying this. Amelia nodded. Her voice was steadier than it had been in days. He underestimated me. That's the part that still surprises me. Chloe smirked. That's what narcissists do. They believe their lies so deeply, they expect the world to believe them too. By the end of the week, Amelia received a signed copy of the initial divorce documents. Tyler had scribbled his name at the bottom, with a barely legible signature. That looked more like surrender than agreement. But he wasn't done. 2 days later, Amelia returned from work to find Tyler leaning against the apartment lobby wall. He looked disheveled, his once pristine shirt rumpled, his eyes bloodshot. I need to talk, he said. There's nothing left to say, she replied, walking past him. He followed. Please, Amelia, I lost everything. Nicole's gone. I have nowhere to go. She stopped, turned, and looked him square in the eye. You had everything, she said. You had me, a home, a future. You threw it away for a fantasy. He opened his mouth, but she cut him off. If you contact me again, I'll get a restraining order. This is over, Tyler. She didn't wait for his response. Back upstairs, she stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her face looked different now, sharper, stronger. There was something else in her eyes too. Not just sadness, a glint of something new. Freedom. That weekend, Lauren returned with paint samples and ideas. We're going to purge this place of all his energy, she declared. They spent hours repainting the walls, rearranging the furniture, and shopping for new linens. Amelia replaced Tyler's gaudy furniture with softer tones and her favorite antique pieces she'd once hidden away in the guest room. Lauren opened a box labeled Tyler Junk and pulled out a personalized trophy from a corporate golf tournament. Trash? Or bonfire? She teased. Amelia laughed for the first time in days. Bonfire, definitely. But late at night, alone in her bed, Amelia still felt the pull of what could have been. She remembered the early days late-night takeout on the floor, the way Tyler used to trace her fingers with his own as they dreamed aloud about their future. It wasn't all lies. That's what made it so cruel. The following Monday, Chloe called with news. "You're not going to like this," she said. Amelia braced herself. "What now?" "Tyler hired a lawyer. He's contesting the financial split. He wants half the apartment's value." Amelia's blood went cold. "He can't do that. It's mine." "He's claiming Doris. Says he didn't know what he was signing when he gave up his ownership." Amelia felt a storm gathering in her chest. "He signed it months ago. It wasn't even during a conflict." "I know," Chloe said. "We have the documents and timeline to prove it. It's a long shot, but he's trying to wear you down." Amelia exhaled slowly. "Then he's going to lose again." She spent that evening going through every file, every receipt, every document. She built a war chest of evidence. Dated emails, bank statements, and Tyler's text messages acknowledging the refinance. If he wanted a fight, he'd get one. But even as she steeled herself for court, life kept moving. One evening, as she stepped out of her building, she bumped into someone literally. "Whoa," said a voice. "Sorry, I wasn't looking, Amelia." She looked up and blinked. It was Jonah West, her college friend. Her first real crush. He looked older, broader-shouldered, his dark hair sprinkled with gray at the temples. He smiled, eyes lighting up with surprise. "Jonah, how are you?" "I live in the building across the street. I just moved back. My firm relocated me. It's been, 10 years?" They stood on the sidewalk, laughing and catching up like no time had passed. He had started a boutique architecture firm. He was divorced himself, no kids, and somehow still remembered that she loved honey in her coffee. He tilted his head, studying her. "You okay? You seem tired." She hesitated, then nodded. "Going through a divorce. Long story." He raised his coffee cup in a quiet toast. "Two endings and new beginnings." Amelia smiled. She hadn't thought about romance in months, but something about Jonah's warmth sparked something inside her. They exchanged numbers. Back at home, the apartment felt lighter, more alive. Amelia walked to the window and stared at the street below. She didn't know what the future held, but she no longer feared it. That night, Tyler called again. She let it go to voicemail. She didn't need to listen. She already knew what he'd say. He was yesterday. The early spring breeze drifted through Amelia's open window as she made coffee, the scent of cinnamon and hazelnut filling the kitchen. Her apartment no longer bore traces of Tyler. It had become a place of healing, of quiet strength. But beneath her calm surface, a battle was brewing. Tyler had declared legal war, and Amelia refused to lose. The courtroom was beige and cold the day they faced each other again. Tyler arrived in an ill-fitting suit, his usual smugness dulled by the weight of impending defeat. His lawyer, a sleek, sharp-eyed man named Mitchell Crane, nodded to Amelia without warmth. Chloe stood at her side like a shield. The judge, a gray-haired woman with no patience for theatrics, called the hearing to order. Tyler's team spun their tale of ignorance and emotional coercion. Mr. Parker was unaware of the ownership transfer, Mitchell argued. He was led to believe the refinance was in their mutual best interest. This was a classic case of strategic manipulation disguised as trust. Chloe didn't flinch. When her turn came, she presented the evidence with surgical precision: emails, signed disclosures, digital signatures, text confirmations, all time-stamped and irrefutable. Amelia watched Tyler squirm as Chloe read aloud one of his old texts. "You handle all that boring stuff. I trust you." Just tell me where to sign. The judge raised her eyebrows. Tyler looked away. By mid-afternoon, the hearing concluded. The judge promised a written ruling within the week. Outside the courthouse, Amelia exhaled, shoulders sagging. Chloe offered a quiet, "You did well." "Good. Thanks for everything," Amelia said, gripping her friend's hand. That night, Jonah called. "Want to come see the mess I call a bachelor apartment?" he teased. She hesitated, but then smiled. "Sure, why not?" His place was warm and rustic, full of exposed brick and oversized bookshelves. He poured wine and put on soft jazz. As they sat near his window, watching the city pulse below, Amelia felt the weight of the past start to fade. Jonah touched her hand gently. "You're different from what I remember. Stronger, wiser, but still you." She turned toward him. "I had to be. I didn't have a choice." Their first kiss came slowly, like a promise rather than a rush. When it ended, she rested her head on his shoulder, letting herself be held for the first time in what felt like years. The ruling came 3 days later. Chloe called with the news. "You won. Full ownership confirmed." His claim was denied with prejudice, and the judge hinted that if he tries to appeal, he might be sanctioned. Amelia smiled in disbelief. "It's over. Legally, yes, but emotionally? That's your journey now." She celebrated that evening with Lauren and Jonah. Laughter filled the apartment. They toasted with champagne and Thai takeout. Jonah pulled her aside near the window. "You fought so hard. What now?" Amelia didn't hesitate. "Now, I rebuild. On my terms." She began volunteering at a women's legal aid center that Chloe introduced her to. Hearing other women's stories of betrayal, loss, and resilience only deepened her resolve. Jonah was patient, never pressing, always present. Their relationship unfolded like a sunrise, slow, steady, beautiful. One evening, while sorting through a storage box, Amelia found an old journal she had kept during the first year of her marriage. Its pages were filled with dreams, plans, and goals, many of which never came to pass. She smiled sadly but didn't cry. That girl had been hopeful, and now, wiser, she closed the journal and slipped it onto her bookshelf. Not to forget, but to remember how far she'd come. Months passed. The sharp edges of Amelia's anger had softened, worn down by time and clarity. She no longer awoke in the middle of the night, reliving courtroom scenes or Tyler's smug phone call. The pain had transformed into something quieter, an echo rather than a roar. But just when she thought the war was truly over, a final ripple emerged. A certified letter arrived on a Thursday morning. Amelia sliced it open carefully, expecting some mundane detail from the court. But her heart clenched as she read the contents. Tyler was suing for defamation. He claimed she had ruined his reputation, that her false accusations had cost him clients and job opportunities. He was demanding a public apology, damages, and retraction. "You've got to be kidding me," she whispered. She called Chloe immediately. "He's desperate," Chloe said after scanning the documents. "This isn't about money or reputation, it's a last grasp for relevance. He wants attention. He wants to punish you for not crumbling." Amelia closed her eyes, steadying herself. "So what do? We respond. We counter. We show this for what it is. A bitter, baseless attempt to regain control. And when we win again, it'll be the last nail in the coffin." The new legal skirmish played out over weeks. Tyler's claims were flimsy at best. Every public statement Amelia had made had been either true or documented in legal filings. And while the process was exhausting, it gave her something surprising, a sense of clarity. She wasn't the same woman who had stood in that hallway, stunned by Tyler's call. She was sharper now, more assertive. She'd walked through fire, and instead of burning, she had emerged forged. The judge dismissed Tyler's claim with prejudice, calling it a clear abuse of the court system. Chloe celebrated by dropping off a gift, a small silver key on a chain. "To remind you," she said, "you hold the keys now to everything." Amelia wore it every day. Her life with Jonah deepened. He introduced her to his sister, invited her to his firm's events, and quietly began referring to her apartment as "our place" when speaking about the future. And yet, Amelia hesitated. One night, as they curled together on the couch, Jonah asked, would you ever want to live somewhere else? Start fresh together? She looked around the apartment. The walls, once bruised with memory, now reflected her joy. But they were still her battleground. Maybe someday, she said, but not just yet. This place, it reminds me I survived. He kissed her temple. Then we stay. As long as you need. A year has passed since the divorce was finalized. Amelia threw a small gathering close friends, laughter, music, the soft clinking of wine glasses. Toward the end of the evening, Lauren pulled her aside. So what's next for you? What's the dream now? Amelia smiled. To write. To tell stories like mine. Maybe help someone else find their way through. She began journaling again. Not about Tyler or the pain, but about growth, love, and the resilience no one could steal. One evening, she opened a new document on her laptop. She stared at the blinking cursor, her fingers poised. Then she began to type. The silence in her apartment wasn't empty anymore. It was peaceful, whole, and finally, it was hers.